What's going on, guys? So I am going to take an opportunity to try to address a comparison between some products a lot of people bring up and hopefully add some clarity to what my opinions are on some of them. So hang tight, I'll be right back. Okay, so the first one, and this is a question I get asked all the time. Should someone go for the Haloview camera system or the Furion camera system? In my opinion, even though I've done a lot of reviews on the Haloview camera system, I would actually say the Furion system performs better. Haloview has been very, very gracious in sending me equipment to do reviews on. They've always asked for my honest opinion, but in terms of range as well as reliability of signal, without needing to do an install of like a booster kit or something that you have to crawl on top of your RV to run cabling and wiring for, I'd say that the Furion camera kind of is a superior product here, because in most cases, it's going to connect directly up to the Furion camera mount you probably have on the back of your trailer already. And it's also going to have the range right off the bat to make it to the front of your tow vehicle without any type of booster needed. Now, are either of them perfect in terms of, clear, non-broken up signal while you're traveling down the road? No. They're both, in some ways, if you have a longer trailer, possibly going to break up a bit while you're driving down the road. However, in my opinion, the Furion camera overall performs better without needing any type of additional pieces of equipment, and its interface is also better in my opinion. The touch screen, as well as how it pairs to the screen, all of that is just a little bit better. You don't need to have a specific camera with a specific screen. Now, do I still think the Haloview has a place for folks? Absolutely. It's far less expensive. So for those of you who are budget oriented and you're looking for a system that might require a few extra pieces or components and a little extra time installing, the Haloview system might be better for you, because it's about $200 less expensive, which for a lot of folks, that will be the deal right there. That's exactly what's going to persuade them to get a Haloview over the Furion system. But overall, I do think the Furion system is a bit better. Now, the next one on the list is the portable power stations. Those Jackery boxes, or the ones from Blue Yeti and the various different brands. If I'd have to say, those are probably the companies that reach out to RV YouTubers more than anybody else to review their product. And for the most part, they're all pretty good at doing what they're designed to do. None of them are generators. They don't generate their own power. You'd have to have solar panels connected to them, and even at that rate, you wouldn't be able to really charge it fast enough to keep it from being depleted by anything that pulls any amount of power from it, really, unless it's like a cell phone charger or something like that. But if you're powering a refrigerator, a heater, things like that, they're always going to discharge faster than they can charge by solar. Just keep that in mind. These are battery packs. They store power so you can use that power until they're depleted. Now, in my opinion, Blue Yeti kind of dominates this area. They have the most powerful systems that I've seen. There are some that I think are a little bit more powerful, but then the cost to own one is significantly more expensive. Jackery makes a good product, not quite as big, not quite as long-lasting as the Blue Yeti product or some of the other ones that are out there. There are a lot of them on the market, and to be honest with you, they all accomplish the desired task relatively well. And what's that desired task? It's to power something relatively small that doesn't use a ton of current for a good amount of time. You hook an air conditioner, you hook a heater, a blow dryer, large amperage pulling power tools to it, you're going to drain them all relatively quickly. The smaller ones might not even be able to power some of that stuff. But as long as you match the capacity to the need that you're looking for, again, they work pretty well. And they can help you in a bind, especially if you have, a refrigerator or you have a cooler or something that you're just trying to provide enough power to get you through a limited amount of time. And those are all important things to keep in mind. Okay, so this next one is going to be one that's slightly controversial because things have kind of changed in the last few years, and this is going to be tires. A lot of folks automatically assume that any tire that's manufactured in China is going to be a poorly constructed tire. But what I'd like to say is that almost all the G-rated tires, G and H-rated tires that you're starting to see are reasonable quality. I'm not going to say that they can compete against a G or an H-rated US manufactured tire, but I can tell you honestly that I believe they are pretty good tires in terms of overall reliability. Does it mean that there's never going to be a failure? No, absolutely not. Even Goodyear Endurance tires, which have a pretty good reputation, have been known to have some issues to some folks. They've had failures, right? So a tire's reliability is going to be something that is based on so many different factors, including how it's inflated, the temperature of the tire, the temperature of the road, the load that it's under, if it's designed for a certain type of climate, if it's designed for a certain type of application. All those things factor into tires. And what I've seen, at least over the last couple of years, and this is really only maybe the last 2 to 3 years, is again, G-rated tires from almost all manufacturers seem to be okay. Now, this is just my opinion. This isn't going to be something that I can substantiate by saying, you know, there's absolutely no failures, you're not going to have a problem. But when Saloon first introduced their G-rated tire and it became really popular in the RV world, you started to see a lot of companies produce tires that look identical, and I almost believe that they're all made in the same factory, but they have a different licensing or branding agreement on them just so they, you know, reflect a different brand, like Westlake or, you know, Good Ride, or these different companies that you're starting to see pop up. Now, I would still say that the US manufactured versions of these tires are going to be superior. Just like I would say, you know, a Goodyear Endurance E-Load range tire is going to be superior to any Constancy, Westlake E-rated tire. However, just keep in mind that a G-rated tire is generally considered to be an all-steel rated tire with a much higher load carrying capability and a much firmer, thicker sidewall to it. And all of that does factor in terms of how well a tire is going to perform. I know a lot of folks instantly want to take the tires off that come on their RV and upgrade to a better tire, and I even advocate for that in many instances when you do get a really crummy tire on an RV. G-rated tires, H-rated tires seem to perform better than any of the sub-load range tires from Chinese manufacturers. And I would really love to hear in the comments from those folks who have fifth wheels primarily, because that's typically what's going to come with the G-rated tire, by some of these off-brand manufacturers, how they've performed. To me, I mean, I want to know, because I can't go out and ask every single person, but I can ask my subscribers. So if you have a newer fifth wheel, one that has these G-rated tires from some of these companies that are just kind of popping up, I'd like to know what your feedback is on them. And then finally, before I'm next in line here at Chick-fil-A, I want to talk about RV suspension, because I've gone through a lot of them and I've had the opportunity to review and look deeper into a lot of them from companies like MORryde as well as LCI and even Dexter. So in my opinion, they all do what they're designed to do. Some just do it a little bit better. MORryde really has two models that are pretty predominant in the aftermarket, and that's going to be the Cree 3000 or the SRE 4000, which they also have an LRE 4000, which is essentially the OEM version of the SRE 4000. I had upgraded from the Dexter EasyFlex to the MORryde SRE 4000, and that's a pretty significant upgrade. But the thing you have to be careful with that upgrade is understanding that you now have significantly more suspension travel on your fifth wheel than you had before, up to like 4 inches versus like 1.5 inches to 2 inches that you would see on most of them. What does that mean? That means that all of the other components have to be right to prevent things from overextending or overflexing. From what they had told me is you really shouldn't be using shock absorbers with the SRE 4000 because it can overextend or overcompress the shock absorbers, which was kind of interesting. The Cree 3000 doesn't necessarily suffer from that, so that's something you want to keep in mind. Also with the LRE or the SRE 4000, you want to make sure you use their X-brace cross brace that attaches between the actual equalizer hangers, because your moment angle or your moment changes, and in terms of flexing and possibly stressing out components, you can do possible damage if you don't add that cross brace. But the conclusion to all of this, in my opinion, is that it's always good to have some type of suspension equalizer. That you want to have a suspension equalizer to help dampen any of that road vibration or harshness that can make its way into the truck. Mainly because whenever you don't have a suspension equalizer, there's a lot of small vibration that works its way into the chassis of your RV, and it can lead to things prematurely coming detached or possibly coming loose. I'm not going to say that having a suspension equalizer is going to fix all your problems, but again, almost all of them do what they're designed to do, and that's just to mitigate the amount of vibration or harshness that transfers into the actual substructure or superstructure of your RV. So at the end of the day, it's all about prolonging the RV as long as possible before you have to do a repair, right? If you have tacks that are coming loose around trim, if you have cabinets that are coming loose, all of that stuff, it might still happen, but the amount of time that you can get by without those things occurring can definitely be impacted by upgrading to a suspension style equalizer. And that's ultimately the goal. Plus, it prolongs the life of like your hangers, the things that hold the suspension components in place, because it doesn't transfer nearly as much vibration and harshness to those. Anyways, guys, I just wanted to make that really quick rant video while I was waiting in line here at Chick-fil-A for my food. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.